without grumbling or questioning. Grumbling. You're like, what is that? That's you. I mean, seriously. I mean, this is complaining and whining and nitpicking, and it's grumbling. Now, what he's not saying is that you need to lie. Somebody comes up, how are you doing? Great. I'm doing great. Get hit by a car. Rejoice in the Lord always. That's not what he's saying. Right? You can be honest. Paul's honest. Hey, I'm in prison. They might kill me. It's not my favorite thing to do. It's sort of a rough go for me. He's honest. You can be honest without complaining and grumbling. Complaining and grumbling is, God, you have no right to do this. God, where are you? God, I thought you were a good God. God, what about the promises? God, I'm hurting. Okay? When you think of grumbling, complaining, whining, what group of people in the Bible come to mind first? The Israelites in the Old Testament. They kept complaining until what? They died. That's one way to stop complaining. You can just complain until you die. Some people do. Let me submit to you, it would be good to find another way to stop complaining other than dying. And here's what it looked like for the Israelites. They're walking around in the woods for 40 years on a journey that actually wouldn't have taken that long. 40 years. It was like, oh, I don't like the food. I don't like the weather. I don't like walking. God, I'm angry. God, what are you doing? I'm teaching you not to complain. Well, of course I'm complaining. I hate the food. I hate to walk. I hate the people. I've seen these woods before. God, what are you doing? I'm trying. You need to stop complaining. Well, you said you were a good God, and you didn't give me any good food, and you said you'd leave me into a good place, and you're leading me into a bad place, and I'm very frustrated about that. And so where are we at? Well, I told you, I'm trying to work on the grumbling thing. Well, grumbling. I mean, you haven't heard anything yet. I'll tell you, just 40 years. God's trying to teach him one lesson. Had they learned it, they may have been able to move on. Right? Now, some of you are that you complain all the time. No, I don't. You're complaining. That's my point. If you don't think you complain a lot, ask someone. And when they answer, don't grumble. Right? Do I complain a lot? And if they snicker, that will be an indication that you are a grumbler. They're like, are you serious? Right? Complaining, grumbling, because when you're grumbling, you're so busy arguing with God, you don't have time to listen to him. You don't you accuse him, God, you're evil, wrong, you can't do that, you have no right. You've not taken the time to ask the question, okay, God, you're good, you're doing something good in me, what do you want me to learn, how can I grow, what are you trying to teach me, what do I need to repent of? It says, do everything without grumbling or questioning. Now, this is very timely. As I told you, we had a similar situation, and our members of the church, a handful, had a lot of questions. So we answered them all with a 145-page document. And the response was, I have more questions. I have a question about the fourth question. I have a question about the verb in the seventh question's answer. I have a question about the footnote. I have a question about your heart, your motive, your intent. I have a question about here's my question. What is wrong with you? Here's my other question. Did your dad never spank you? I have all kind of questions too. Now, some of you will ask, does this mean I can't have a question? You can have a question, but there's a difference between having a question and always questioning. A question is, I don't understand. This doesn't make any sense. I'm confused. Explain this to me. Show me what God is saying here. I don't know what happened. Could you help me understand what happened? That's a question. Questions are perfectly fine. Questioning is more like interrogation. Questioning is, I don't trust you. You're guilty until proven innocent. I'm holier than you and smarter than you, and until you convince me, I'm convinced you're wrong. Right? How many of you were this kid for your parents? You were like this very little attorney who had lots of questions for your parents. And it wasn't that you had questions. You were always questioning. Why? How come? Johnny gets to do that. What do you think about this? What about the war in Iraq? You're like, you're 4. Shut up and drink your juice box. And some adults are just always questioning. And what this is, these are suspicious people. These are people who are mistrusting and distrusting. These are people with critical spirits. These are people that if you answer their question, they got 25 more questions, and they'll have questions forever. And it's not that they have questions, it's that they're sinning through questioning. The heart is not good. And some people even do this with God. God, who do you think you are? God, how do you think this is fair? God, you said you'd never leave me or forsake me. God, you said this and that. God, you said you'd come through me. God, I deserve better. Questioning, grumbling, sins to be repented of. Sins that actually get in the way of working out what God has worked in you. Stopping to say, okay, God, what are you trying to teach me? What are you trying to grow me in? What do I need to repent of? What do I need to learn here? Please don't make me walk around my house for 40 years until I die. Please give me the humility to learn so I can figure this out and move on with my life. Some of you are very angry at God. You question if He's good and you grumble against Him. And the issue may be that there's one lesson that He keeps trying to teach you, and you're just stubborn and stiff-necked and hard-hearted and proud, and you just refuse to learn. So you keep marching, anticipating that at some point He'll repent. He'll give in. He'll cry, uncle. He won't. You're going to learn that lesson. Do all things without grumbling or questioning, that you may be blameless and innocent. When someone is in sin and they're really not that repentant, and they're grumbling and questioning, if you address them on a sin, hey, I think you're being proud. I don't think you're listening. I don't think you're growing. I think you're stuck on this issue. I think you're blind to your own blindness. I think you're foolish to your own folly. Usually they say, oh, no. You don't understand. You don't see it the way I do. I'm not wicked. I'm multi-perspectival. I just have a different vantage point than you do on this issue. We even come up with big words to justify our rebellion. Oh, that's your interpretation. I have a different interpretation that lets me whack people and be naked a lot. That's just your interpretation. We have all these silly ways of getting our way. And the best thing to do with someone who's hard-hearted, rebellious, and stubborn is to go up and ask these questions. Are you blameless and innocent? Gotcha. They may argue over the finer points of perspective and motive intent and, what the Hebrew word is in Leviticus, but if you ask questions like, are you blameless and innocent? Nope. Okay. Then tell me where you're not blameless and innocent. Okay. Then that would be your sin. Okay? You're grumbling, you're questioning, you're fighting, you're disobeying. God's a good God. He's trying to do a good thing in you, and you're making it really hard because He's pushing down His pedal and you're not pushing down your pedal. Are you blameless? Are you innocent?